What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Aftermath Podcast. I am your host, Christopher Tenpenny, joined by my co-host, my buddy, Mr. CJ Jones. CJ, how are you doing on this victory? It's Tuesday now. You guys are listening Wednesday, a little late this week, but how are you doing? Still fresh off the Chiefs getting back into the win column.
Victory Tuesday, like you said, Chris. Nothing better than getting a win, regardless of how the game ended. I know it wasn't pretty, but there's no better than feeling than getting a W in the win column and adding a number. The Chiefs are officially at 9 wins, Chris. I'm feeling amazing. Not feeling the best at times, but at the end of the day, I love winning. And outside the last quarter and a half, we played great football. So I'll take the win how I can get them. It's not pretty, obviously, but there wasn't a lot of pretty football, like we've said the entire year. This past weekend in week 16, week 15, sorry. So now we're going into the last 3 weeks of the season, Chris. How are we feeling? I'm feeling pretty good. We've improved. I think we now have clarity, Chris, about what we need to do going forward. There's no more confusion or question marks. We know who needs to play, who doesn't need to play. And for that part, I feel good about because all my questions that I have been answered.
No, for sure. And before we get into the clarity, I just want to go ahead and get out in front of this. If you're watching this on YouTube on the KC Sports Authority, please make sure you hit that subscribe button. We're past our goal of hitting 250 season. We're up to like 270 now at this point. Gained like 25 followers in the last week or so. Next goal is 500. So please stop real quick. I need you to tell one friend. I don't need to tell the two friends. I just need to tell one friend. And we got Royal stuff, KU stuff. So please check out the KC Sports Store. Drop that like too. Really appreciate the support. But back to some Chiefs football. You know, I had to get the spiel out real quick. But like you said, like you were saying beforehand, the Chiefs they kind of have an idea on who should be playing, who shouldn't. And let's just start with it. Kadarius Toney, man, is another problem. Another drop that leads to a pick. Another blow up by Pat directed at an individual in Kadarius Toney, which you don't see like at all. Like, I don't even know, like the enemy is the closest thing. And that was more just that was actual discussion. That wasn't like on the bench. Like, what do you make of this Kadarius Toney stuff, man? I mean, it just can't get away from it.
He's an amazing, talented player. Very, very talented. We've seen what he does with the ball in his hands, regardless of whether it be via handoffs, via screen, down the field. And you can just see guys like Travis and Eddie trying to back him publicly. And I honestly think this week, Chris, they're going to have an honest conversation. I think it's gotten to that point. And there's kind of been fans who overreact and say we're been at that point. But, like, truly, from a football player, football coach standpoint, you like to give guys second chances because that's just how football teams are. You can't just cut guys away, especially from guys that are such talented as KT. I think this week they're going to sit down and have an honest conversation with Pat, Andy, and KT all in the room together, those three, and nobody else alone. And I think they're going to have an honest conversation with KT like, hey, can you really do this for us going forward for the season? We have 3 regular season games, and obviously it takes 3 games to get to a Super Bowl. So I think they're going to have an honest talk this week like, hey, what do we need to do to get you ready for the rest of the season? And if that is, Chris, if that is sitting KT for a week where he can get his head right and just like so he can like really relish and recognize for this moment what's going on, then so be it. But I think they honestly, as grown men, I think I would honestly, if I was a teammate, I would do what Trav has been doing, obviously put my arm around him and try to support him as much as I can and be there for him. But there's really nothing more else to say, Chris, honestly. He's a great football player. He's talented. He knows what to do. But if you can't catch the ball simply as the 2 worst drops he's had this year, Chris, have been right on his face. The Detroit drop with the slant, same route, same slant, same thing in New England. They hit you right in the nose, he just drops it. So if he can't hold on to the ball in those simple plays, how can we expect you to catch the ball down the field? So it's sad to see because there's a kid that's so talented, a guy that we expected a lot to take a jump this year, and obviously he had the injury. But even when he came back, you could just see the explosiveness and how good he is. But to not catch the simple passes is very frustrating from a football player standpoint and a fan standpoint because if you can, just like basketball reference, if you can't make layups, Chris, how can I trust you to put you in the game? So you can't do the easy requirements, the stuff that's like walking forward. So it is sad to see, but it's an honest conversation that you have to have. And if he has to sit this week to recognize it, or if you don't play him the rest of the year, I wouldn't be shocked either. But they're definitely going to have a talk this week for sure.
Yeah, I like the basketball analogy, right? It's like the kid that shows up to the rec and it's got all the moves going between the back, can get by anyone first step.
All that.
Yeah, sometimes we'll hit a ridiculous jump, step back jumper, boom, and then you get him in the layup and he misses 50%. And it's like, bro, like,
you can't do the basics.
You can't do the basics. Like, I don't care about all that other stuff. Like, I don't know. I'm with you.
Just lay it up, KT. Come on.
the issues, because I've been a huge KT supporter. You and I
Yeah.
both have been, like, had high praise. Like, we thought it was a little crazy to come in with him with the 1, but we were both see the talent. And we're like, all right, let's roll with it. Why not trust Andy and Veach and those guys? And it clearly has not worked. And I am at the point to where I think even without the depth that they had, even with Skyy Moore getting placed on IR, which we'll come back to in a little bit, like, I think his snap count's got to go down. I think, like,
Yeah.
I know Andy alluded to Richie James, getting more snaps now. Like, I think that may be the four you roll with for the next game or two is going to be Rice, Watson, MVS. Someone's got to run routes, and Richie James. Like, and then maybe you put KT in the backfield. Maybe you get Justin Ross coming back, for 5 to 7 snaps or something like that, because he's still young and raw. Again, if you can't get on the field in this crew based on what you do in practice, I don't know how good Justin Ross really is going to be. But at the same time, like, with the way this wide receiver core has played, like, might as well try something different. I think KT's got to at least take a break for a couple weeks, because, man, it didn't cost them this week. They were playing a very, very bad Patriots team who had about 2 good drives in them. But man, it just sucks that that's what we're having to talk about every week.
Yeah, it's like, I know he's trying his best. Obviously, he doesn't want to drop the football. And like me and Chris said off air, it's one thing to make mistakes, but you're making the simple mistakes. It's like there's no defending you. There's no coaching. It's literally catch the ball, look at it, something you've done your entire life. So if you can't do the layups, Chris, I can't trust you in 4th down or trust you in a 2-minute drill if I know you can't make the easy catches. So it's sad to see for sure. And it's definitely a week where you can see him, like, either his snaps significantly reduced or not playing at all. I could see both scenarios for sure. Just like you said, to send a message like, hey, if we have to sit you for 2 weeks so you can get your mental right, you just go to practice the next 2 weeks. Don't even worry about playing. Just get on the jugs, catch everything thrown to you. And then maybe we revisit you back in Chargers week to see if we can get you some reps gradually and get adjusted before the playoffs start. Because we know the Chargers game is essentially like a chalk, because no Justin Herbert, so many injuries on that team. It's going to be a very ugly football game for them and on their end. So if that's the game where he has to sit and then he comes back that week to maybe get himself back integrated after, like, what would we call that, a break or a punishment, whatever you want to say.
Yeah, I don't know.
If that's what they need to do, then so be it. But he needs to sit down and just not even like get mad or get frustrated, just reflect. Like, hey, what am I truly doing wrong in this moment? Like, are you really in the practice getting jug catches after practice, like Chris, before practice doing extra things, or whatever work you are doing, Chris? I think we all can agree you need to do more. So if that's staying before practice, catching 20 passes, catching another 100 passes after practice with Pat or any of the other quarterbacks that need to throw to you, just do the extra work for the next 2 weeks. And I think that'll be good for him. Just don't worry about playing. We're not going to play the next 2 weeks. And that's no indictment on you. We know you can play, but just catch the ball before and after practice, during practice, and just focus on that mentally. So then when you come back week 18 versus Chargers, maybe that is like a refreshment for her or for him. So he could just sit there and not have to worry about playing football and just catch the ball and going for it.
Yeah, and I don't know KT at all. Don't know anything about him personally as far as how he is off the field. But you can tell, you can get a vibe off watching guys how they act, and how KT reacted to the New York Giant fans after getting all this praise from the Super Bowl. As a young 24-year-old kid who's been told his whole life that, he's going to go to the league, he's going to be a first rounder, and all that happened. His first adversity in New York, and then his first response when overcoming that adversity in the Super Bowl was to come back and to bash all of those fans in New York. When that just that tells me a little bit about maybe where his mindset was coming into the year. Like, he felt like he had arrived. He felt like, he had proven all those doubters wrong. Like, so that I think that's showing in his play. I don't think he attacked it as much as he could have just based on those actions. I know there's a lot of interpretation there. I know there's a lot of assumption, but, like, you've seen it before. Guys think they finally made it, and that work ethic and that hunger slips a little bit.
Mentality's a little different.
Yeah. I think, and I think that's what we're kind of seeing. I mean, how off base am I with saying that?
No, that's not crazy at all. And like you said, we don't know KT. I don't like to attack guys personally ever, but it shows in your play. Like, obviously, like the off the field stuff, you kind of want to separate that from the football field. But when you see, and we've had players like and plenty of Chiefs fans know we've had guys go at it with fans, our own fans or other teams' fans, whether it be. We've had Tyrann Mathieu get at it with fans. We've had, obviously, Marcus Peters moments. We've had
But
plenty
those
of
guys
players on
had
this.
more of track records, you
See,
know.
that was my next point. They've actually defended. They've actually performed when we needed them to. So when you
Right.
perform, nobody really cares about the bad stuff you do, whether it be distractions or off the field antics. If you're performing, nobody cares about KT. He did perform, just not for like you said, a long track record of
It's
history
like 2
of what he
games.
can do. So,
2
and
games.
the biggest games of the year. So he did do that part, but at the same time, we need you to go out there and prove why we trade this value for you,
Mhm.
and like basically assert yourself in this receiving room, and then for him to start the season the way he did, I don't think he should have been out there the Detroit week. I think you agree with that. He shouldn't have been playing because he didn't practice all of training camp. You throw him out there for game one. You could have sat him down. You didn't really need him to win that game. You could have sat him, and he did anyway. And then he had a couple of drops in that game that led to turnovers. And the same thing happened this week versus New England, which is the more sadder part. I'm like, bro, we're at the end of the season. You shouldn't be having drop issues right now.
We've been
You should
talking
be
about you
staying
all week coming off the offsides, and you come out and play
through
like that.
that.
Yeah.
It's like you should be in practice every day. Like I said, I'm gonna beat it in his head so he can't get it no more. Chris, you need to be on the jug machine every day. Like you need to be catching 100 passes minimum.
Yeah.
Like 25 before practice, 50 in practice, and another after practice. Like I don't care. Like all the if you like no, you need to be catching 100 passes every day this week, just to get that body feel, get your confidence back up, get your body back in rhythm. Because catching the ball should almost feel like a second skin almost. You
Mm-hmm.
catch the ball naturally. You catch it with your eyes first. That most people should know. You don't even catch it with these. You look the ball in. I feel like a lot of his drops are like he's just looking away from the pass before he
Ready to
actually
make a play.
secures it. And he's such an explosive kid. You don't need to look away. Like KC, you're already like the most explosive guy on the field. So just catch the ball, secure it, and then go make a move. Like we don't need all the extra stuff, Chris. We just need catches and first downs. That's all we need.
Right.
We don't need all the extra. I know some of his plays, that's what he's known for. But right now, he just needs to focus on the basics of just. And if Chris, he has to dumb it down. Our receiver coach used to do this with us. He would paint the ball, the corner of every ball. It was childish, but it worked. He would throw the ball to you, and you have to say the color before you catch it. Or you put a number on it, and you have to say that too.
Right,
and
right.
If you don't say it, it'll say to go back in the line and do it again. And if that's what you have to do, I'm putting a color on every football in the bucket. And Chris, I'm going like this. I'm like, say it out, scream it. Like blue, red, like a yellow, black. Like say everything. Just to beat it into your head, look the ball in. It's so simple, but guys look it over it for sure.
Yeah, no. Yeah, it's been frustrating. Again, they did get out of the win column. It didn't end up costing them this week, but I feel like
Thankfully.
In a game that had so many positive things come out of it, it was still the #1 story because it just kind of felt same old, same old. But let's move to maybe the most positive storyline out of this game. A positive thing that I'm not necessarily I mean, I'm excited about because it's Chiefs, but like I'm eating a little bit of crow. I'm eating a little bit of crow, but CEH came out 2-5 and
baby,
balled
let's go.
out, man. Balled out, caught a great touchdown, got, had some hard yards. It was still, 30.9 yards per carry. It was nothing flashy, even with I think he had like an 18-yard run. So like, it was still same old Clyde. He had 18-yard run. It still averaged 3.9 yards per carry.
Yeah,
but the screenplay, the jumping up and catching the touchdown in the back of the end zone, the 5'7" running back was the best high point receiver on
LSU,
the team.
Baby.
What did you make of Clyde, man? I know you've been giving Clyde a lot of love while I've been the Debbie Downer on him this year.
Hey, the biggest thing with Clyde obviously was same thing with KT was confidence. And obviously he was a kid that was projected to be a lot for our offense, being drafted in the first round. And obviously he didn't live up to the hype, mainly because of like his play, injuries, and mental stability will come into that as well, because we've had a lot of incidents in the seasons where, and it wouldn't mess with anybody's mental. They benched him in the Super Bowl and he didn't even know. Like coming into that week, he publicly said it. Yeah. I thought I was going to play. And then I walked in the locker room. He had no pads, no helmet. So that would mess with anyone's mental before anyone. So I think fans need to like realize that situation. And obviously he's had some injuries while he's been here. And then obviously in the offseason, he didn't come to the celebration. That was kind of odd too. So a lot of things where people would suggest like, hey, does he really want to be here? And like I said, if you would go through a job and somebody tell you you're going to perform and then you would get up to your job and you're just not able to play, I will be messed up mentally too. So I get where he's coming from, on top of the fact he hasn't been playing well. So to have this moment, Chris, I think this is the ultimate, like Skyy Moore had his redemption last year on the punt return that helped us beat the Bengals. This is almost like Clyde's redemption the last 2 weeks. Like for Pacheco to be out, Jet McKinnon was nursing an injury. We had every reason, like you just said, to doubt Clyde, to say he can't do it. He hasn't carried this offense since he's gotten in the league, or carried it ever since he's been here. So for him to have this opportunity, and Jet said he's been ready for this moment, he's mentally prepared, he knows what he needs to do, and he's ready for the moment. For him to go out there and ball out the last 2 weeks, and I know it's not nothing crazy what he did, but He's been averaging close to 4 yards a carry the last 2 weeks. Multiple plays he's made in the passing game, made great catches for us downfield. He's ran some guys over. He's hurdled a player last week. For Clyde to come in this moment, I know nobody really cares too much because it's like you played obviously in games that don't really matter. But for me and for him personally, I know that meant a lot to him mentally because he's been through hell since he's been here. He's going through right now what Skyy Moore is going through. He's been through that the last 3-4 years. He knows exactly how that feels to be a guy with high expectations and not live up to the hype. And now the fans are killing you when you don't make a play or you miss a game because of injury, and then fans saying you should get cut, you shouldn't even be here. And that comes with the territory when you play for a popular team like the Chiefs that have been winning so much. But for Clyde to have this redemption moment, not even football, just personally, I was happy for him. I know he's been through a lot mentally. So to have that moment and like to have that grace come back to him and see everything go his way, I'm just so happy for him personally, not even football-wise. I'm just happy for him as a man for sure.
No, yeah, it was great to see him have the success he had on the field. He's still very much clearly a RB3, maybe an RB2 if you have an injury on a team. He's going to keep himself in the league. He ain't going to be in Kansas City, I don't think, but he's going to keep himself in the league.
He'll probably be gone.
with these flashes
that
he's been showing. That is a good
question, though. If he does end the season the way he's playing now, would you mind bringing him back on a cheap deal?
I don't need him back because because of the just the way the fan base is split on him. You know, he's just been around too much for a guy that had higher expectations. When you can find another guy that provide the exact same skill set,
I got you.
Whether it's in the draft or off of someone's practice squad, depending on the teams that I would much rather do that just because it kind of takes a little bit. We spend too much time talking about RB3 because of where he was drafted. And so I don't need that on next year's team, even though, like you said, it was really nice to see him have success, kind of get bounced back, have the fan base kind of, switch back onto his side for a little bit, even though long term, I think his fate's been sealed for a while now.
We pretty much know like this the last year of the deal. But it's nice to see him go out on a good note. That's good for him for sure.
Right. And he's going to need to keep going because, both running backs ahead of him aren't not
100%.
Aren't known guys to be available every week. So his number may be called again. And it was nice to see Jet get out there and he's starting to heat up. Caught and threw a touchdown pass. Like he was
the Jet man back.
People aren't talking about enough. Like we talk about how last year's receiving core and this year's receiving core are virtually the same with Rice swapped out for Juju. Well, McKinnon caught 9 touchdowns last year, and we ain't have exactly replaced that production so far. So to see him get going again is really nice to see. But yeah, I mean the offense against the good Patriots defense obviously had a couple hiccups. There was a 3-and-out early. There was the pick because Blake Bell. Part of it was on Pat, but part of it was on Blake Bell not coming back to the ball and not just being strong enough.
Gotta fight for it. Yeah, gotta fight for
it. And that was really the only. I don't even know if bad pass because I still think the pick could have been prevented. It was the only contested ball I really feel like Pat threw all day. Like he was on one. He was dotting.
That trap throw was great. He just should have went for the ball. So
yeah. Like I really liked again it's really easy to say I really liked what Patrick Mahomes put on film because he's the best quarterback in the league. But he really he's looked more mortal this year. Even you take the receivers part out of it, he's been definitely pressing. He's made a few uncharacteristic mistakes, and his throws haven't been as sharp at times. But on Sunday, he looked like MVP Pat last year. Last year was Superman Pat, and that's who he looked like. And so that was a really good to see because if he can get that confidence going, and he's just gonna have to keep ripping it. I know that the trust is shaky with everyone outside of pretty much Travis. Pretty much like I know Rice and Watson and Gray are guys and McKinnon are guys that he trusts, but it still ain't always great with a couple of those. Watson and Rice dropped quite a few, and McKinnon and Gray you're not going to be relying on more than 2 to 3 targets a week. So it still feels like Kelsey and a bunch of guys, but if he can just get past that and just rip it and whatever happens, man, this team's going to be just fine.
And that's the crazy part. I feel like I know Noah only gets 2 to 3 targets a week. Why can't he get 5?
Why can't he get 5 targets?
I've seen plenty of other teams run backup tight ends and they get 4 to 5 catches. There's no reason in my mind why Noah Gray can't go into a week or the rest of this season and we see him get 4 to 5 targets a game. Because nobody would bat an eye. Me and you wouldn't. I know Pat wouldn't. So why can't we design more plays for him? If we took away some of those KT targets, some of those Skyy Moore targets, and gave them to Noah, I'm fine with it. Like, we all agreed the 4 receivers going forward are, like you said, Rashee, Justin, MBS. It's probably going to be Richie James now. Obviously not the Skyy.
For at least next week. For at least next week.
Next week, exactly. Especially if we expect KT to be benched this week. So if that's the 4 we have, I'm fine with that. And then if those guys getting their targets, if I had to divide it up, Pat Throw, he's averaging about 29 attempts a game, about 30, 31.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say Rashee gets about 9 to 10 targets. Trav gets his about 9 to 10 targets. That's 20 right there. Jet gets about 2 to 3. Pop gets about 2 to 3. That's 26. So we got left about 6 targets left. So what are we thinking? For
Watson and Gray?
Watson and Gray. So we thinking like Gray gets about 3, Justin gets about 3. That sound about right? And MBS gets his 1 per game. So like that I think that's a good even of like how the receiver, all the pass catching targets should even up. Like that week when we played the Raiders and Rashee had a great game that week. I took a picture of the screenshot of the target share. That's how it should be every week. Him and Travis Kelce should be combining 18 or 15 and up targets every week. And I think nobody would bat an eye because those 2 guys give us the best chance to win. So I don't never want to go into a game like we did the Eagles week where Justin Watson is getting 10, 11 targets.
That was crazy.
That should never happen. Like, and I don't care what game script it is. If you're going to throw the ball to somebody 11 football times, like you should look at your script and be like, how is number 4 and 87 not getting the ball 10 times? I don't care what, win or lose, those would be the guys touching the ball. So obviously, like when we want to, I would like us to run the football more under center and probably keep pass attempts under 30, if not 30 at most. That would be great to see. And I think once Pop comes back healthy, and it's good to see him come back this week off the injury report. But now that you've seen Clyde do what he can do, I think you can allow it to be a little more flexible in some of those play callings, Chris. And you can do things like have Pop in the backfield, maybe have Clyde come in motion, maybe have Jet in the backfield, or Clyde in the backfield and have Jet come in motion. And you can do those kind of things where you can have 2 running backs on the field. So they think it's 21 personnel, like 2 backs, 1 tight, and there's really 11 personnel. You're just putting 1 back in the slot and having them fly across the field, and you can do a handoff, fake handoff, somebody come across the field, things of that. So you can kind of play with things when you have 3 guys, you know they can all make plays in this running back room. And they all support each other, Pacheco, Jet, and obviously Clyde do it all together. But I think, Chris, are you comfortable saying right now every week the running backs and tight ends, their touches every week should be greater than the receivers? I think that's the formula for us to win. Not saying the receivers can't get touches, but in general, handoff, screens, passes in general, the running back and tight end should outweigh the receivers every week, in my opinion.
Yeah, if you're ranking Chiefs skill positions, you only got 1 receiver in the top 5 because I think Justin Watson is 6 because I think you want Pop, Jet, Noah, and Trav touching the ball more than any of the receivers. So, like, like that, I'm 100% there with you on giving.
And I think that's a solid formula. And I think like if we played more, our playbook we had when we were with Alex Smith, it was more under center, less shotgun. We did shotgun at times.
You've been loving the under center stuff, man. That's what you've been preaching. I love it. That's what you've been preaching.
It's so much easier. It just makes everything easier for Pat. And I know Pat, he's a shotgun warrior. He loves it. He's been doing it his entire life. He did it in high school. He did it at Tech. So he loves being in the gun. I'm not mad at him for not. Because when he goes into a play, goes to a formation, if it's a money down, like 3rd down, I'm in the shotgun. I know what that is. But 1st and 2nd down, we should be under center more, Chris. It just makes sense for this offense. Pat, you're going to be less frustrated because we're going to run the ball better. When you do play action from under center, guys are going to be more open. It's going to clean the read up for you, and it's going to help guys catch – well, pray God, cross my fingers. It's going to help them become open easier to have better windows so they wouldn't have to worry about defenders because they'd be catching the ball. When you run the ball under center, Chris, it forces guys to commit. You commit to the line of scrimmage when I'm running the football 3 or 4 times in a row. So I just wish they would do that, and then that would help Noah Gray stay on the field more. He gets more touches. The running backs get more touches, and all in all, that that drops the receiver touches, so they don't have to be the one to blame every single week. Right. Just playing under center makes everyone's job easier. From Nagy, Andy, Pat to the receiver, the tight ends, it helps everyone, and I think most people would agree with that.
Yeah, no, you're right. You gotta be smart on who's touching the ball each week and make sure,
especially when it's money time. Like we're trying to win now, Chris. Like no more 5, 10 people touching the ball. No, it should be like 4 to 6. That's it.
Right. Right. No, you're right. I mean, and we'll see if the offense did play well overall, other than those, putting up
Yeah.
27. I know they were gifted a free 7 on the Willie Gay on the Bailey Zappi free pick straight to Willie Gay, but
Yeet.
like they still play that team. That Patriots defense has been keeping opponents down. So
Oh
to
yeah,
be
they
able
have.
to move the ball the way they did all game, even though they did have a couple turnovers, like. It was refreshing to see. I mean, that screenplay, like how that went for 50 for Clyde. Like, how do you get a Bill Belichick defense that out of whack? Like,
Over pursuit,
yeah,
man.
they had
Yeah.
she run the cross and just took out had Travis run out that way too, which took the safety and the linebacker, and it was like there was no one left on the right
No one
side of the
home.
field. It was crazy, like to get a Bill Belichick defense that full. So a lot of positives to take. I know we led with the same talk about the receivers, but the offense seemed to be trending in the right direction. They were
I think they're
playing a
figuring it
Raiders
out.
defense that they torched earlier. So
Mhm.
we'll see. The Bengals defense has been down. The Chargers defense just gave up 63 points. Like there's a lot of opportunity to feel confident. I'm not saying they're going to put up 35 points these next 3 weeks, but there's a lot of opportunities to feel confident about the offense just themselves to get
For
your
sure.
confidence back heading into the playoffs. So hope they
Confident
take
boosters for
advantage
sure.
of it. We're not going to talk a lot about the defense today because it's a horrific Patriots offense. They did their job. It was nice to see
Yeah.
Willie get a pick. Jalen Watson coming on the
We got
blitz,
3
getting
sacks.
the sack.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Good day.
a
Good
mini
day.
you
Good
getting
day.
the sack, like Tranquil and Nick Bolton
Naughty.
playing.
Naughty.
Like Naughty
Naughty.
made not. We don't talk. Naughty
That's
is
another guy.
as
We got to add him to the list. That's another guy.
Naughty. No. Naughty has been terrible this year until like the last 2 weeks. He's
No, I mean
finally.
like a guy that's made himself some money.
Yeah, I know, but like I don't know how much
Not
he
a
has.
lot, but he's gotten better.
He's
I think he's playing better this year than he did last year.
No, week
Last year,
10.
he,
I know PFF isn't everything, but at week 10, he was the worst rated DT in the league.
Jesus Lord.
Yeah. Now he's played a lot better the last month,
And that's what I'm saying. I feel
but
like last year he was awful.
the first 10 weeks of the season, Naughty was not good. So
That's not saying much because I felt last year they were talking about him not even coming back. I'm like, oh God, he was bad last year. I didn't think he was that bad. Then I watched him and he
no,
really wasn't that
like
bad last
it
year.
was the Eagles game. You know how they do or not the Eagles game, the Packers game. You know how they do the PFF grade because it's Chris Collinsworth.
He
He
was
was
last.
127 out of 127 out of DTs.
Jesus Lord.
Now he played well that Packers game, and then he played well against the
Yeah, watch your
Patriots.
mouth, PFF. Watch your mouth.
So he's trending. And what was I'm missing the other game in there? The Bills game, he wasn't that bad either. So he's put 3 games in a row to where he hasn't been that bad. But like week 11, week 12, he was the worst DT according to PFF.
Relax, PFF.
Which
Relax.
is not everything, as we know, but like, yeah, he's been getting off the hook because of how good the rest of the defense has been. But yeah, we don't need to spend much time on them. Last thing I did want to talk about before we wrap out, we're going a little long, but that's all right. Is Skyy Moore has been placed on IR. He's done for the regular season, may be eligible to return and for the
Playoff.
postseason. Yeah. Do you think the injury is serious, or do you think it's just a way to clear out the guy and maybe allow Justin Ross come back and McCole Hardman's practice window's about to open? Like, do you really think it's that serious of an injury, or is it just an excuse to be like, Skyy, you done?
Both.
Yeah.
He probably could be dealing with an injury because I don't want to speak on someone's like.
No, he's definitely hurt. I don't want to say it's fake. I don't want to say it's phantom.
Exactly.
I don't think the Chiefs would not do that. But could he be back for the Bengals game? Maybe.
Well, I mean, when you're on IR, you have to go down for 4 weeks. So for him, it would be what? Raiders, Bengals, Chargers.
Playoff game
playoff
he would miss. Yeah, so
he would
back
be
in the
divisional.
No, I know where he currently would be able to return, but I'm just saying, like, could he technically be back by the Bengals game if they didn't place him on IR?
Probably.
Maybe,
Probably.
but it
they
may
probably
have
just
just
said,
been
at this point, do we really need you to play in 2 weeks? Nah, so we might as well just
nah.
throw you on IR. So
Yeah,
I get what you're saying.
Yeah,
It's probably twofold. It's obviously he's dealing with an injury. I'm sure he's trying his best to try to heal his way up and get back because we obviously don't have the crazy depth in that room.
No,
but at the same time, he hasn't played good this year either. So
no, he hasn't.
Yeah, both points are valid. He is hurt, but at the same time, he hasn't played well. He's made a lot of mistakes, some to his own fault, some to the fault of the play call of the offense. But he has to own that, and like you said, rehab and try to get healthy. And if they do decide to make him active in the playoff games, and they want to put him in that moment, then sure, throw him out there. But if at that point, if we're rolling the way this offense and the way I think it would roll, then we won't even need him, honestly.
Yeah.
If they run this offense like we should and condense it down run the ball more, play action, give the ball to your guys on simple, like slants, speed outs, and things of that sort. Give the ball guys in simple plays motions. I think if we're doing those things, we won't need Skyy Moore unless like somebody gets hurt and we're like direly like, all right, somebody went down this week, you have to play now in that scenario. But outside of that, no, I think we'll be fine, obviously, without him. It sucks to see him go down because I know he's worked hard to have a great year. Same thing with KT, but I mean, if you're hurt, you're hurt, and now you just got to, like you said, take a time to reflect, man, and just look yourself in the mirror. You got to be a man about the situation. What have I done wrong, and what could I have done to help this team be better than where we're at right now? And I think if you could just do that and honestly block out the noise, bro, delete social media off your phone. Don't get on it. Like I wouldn't even use it at all. Like only people I would be talking to is my teammates and my family. That's it. Like no need for you to look at other things. It's negative. It's not good for your mental. It's not good for your spirit. For people who are spiritual, you don't need to see those things every day because there are a lot of fans who support Skyy, but there are a lot of you're going to get more fans who don't support you. So there's no reason to even entertain that kind of stuff. So for Skyy, I think he could help us in future, maybe this year or next year. At the same time, with just a whole offseason, just like I said, reflect on what you did wrong, what you could have done better, and what you need to do to help this team be better in that receiver room. But I think for this year going forward, if he sat, it wouldn't shock me at all. I don't think we really need him going forward, honestly.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing. Like you never want to see a guy go down, and like I was really excited about the Skyy Moore pick. He was, I don't know if I should admit this, but if you guys have been listening to me, you probably remember. I like Skyy Moore a little more than George Pickens come out of college. I'll say that man to man right now. Like I liked Skyy Moore's tape. I liked his skill set that he's going to fit perfect. Obviously, far from the truth. Everybody in there, any sane football person would take George Pickens, but he's going to be back next year. Just because you have to. He's in a second round pick. Yeah. I like that this gives him the first time in his professional career to where he doesn't have to worry about anything. Like you said, no expectation, no nothing, no noise. He's going to have an off season to where, he'll probably be brought up a few times, but expectations are going to be low. That too.
Very, very low.
He gets time to just kind of reset. I can't imagine being a 24-year-old kid coming into this offense, this team with this kind of hype. Like it's one thing for MVS, a professional who's gotten a second contract, who's had some good years, decent years. Yeah. Like it's one thing for us to bash on him. Like he's been used to it to an extent at this point. Like, do I think he's handled it the best this year? No, but again, he's still a professional that's had success. Skyy, man, like he's just a kid. Hasn't had success. His only touchdown is then that Super Bowl. Like everyone's talking about him in the off season now, and then the year starts and everyone's being like, Skyy Moore ran 70% of the offensive snaps and had 2 targets for 1 catch and 8 yards. And it's like, that's got to wear on you. Just take a breather, get healthy, get your mind cleared. And look, you're probably going to go into the next year as wide receiver 4 or 5.
And that's good. Get back to work.
Get back to work and make most of your opportunities, and this whole narrative could switch very quickly. So I'm excited. I'm excited for that opportunity. I'm not excited that he's injured, but I am excited for him to hopefully take advantage of the situation he's in and to build on it and be ready for 2024.
Absolutely. I'm rooting for you, kid. Get back out there, man.
So that anything else you want to go over, or I think we wrapped up the main point. Sorry, defense. Again, defense, keep balling.
You guys are great. You're amazing. All pros everywhere.
Sneed, keep balling, man. McDuffie, keep balling.
Chris, I need 3 sacks this week. And
Reed laying hits. Justin Reed laying hits on some guys.
Justin Reed may not be great in coverage. I know. Don't block us, but he smacks people. He hits.
Hey, Connors might be the best coverage safety on the team already. He playing well too. So
Shamari is playing well. Yeah. And I think and we're giving out awards for the season since we're almost at that point. If there's a defensive coordinator of the year award, I know it's not a real award, but it would be obviously Steve Spagnuolo to take this group.
Coach of the year award should go to Steve Spagnuolo, but ain't no one getting him into a coordinator.
Whatever you want to say it. I think whatever like a smaller outside of head coach of the year, he would get the next award for any type of coach, in my opinion. To take a group that wasn't expected to be this good and have a top 5 unit. We're top 5, obviously, in points per game. We've been top 5 in yards given up per game. Obviously, we haven't given up 30 this year, not one time. No. I think we're the only team in the defense in the league that can say that. So to have this group, and obviously you've had so many up and downs. Chris Jones missed games. Willie Gay's been in and out the lineup. Nick Bolton, Drew Tranquill. Obviously now Cook is down. And Minihue missed half the season. And obviously Trent and Sneed have been playing like all pros all year. Like Dave Merritt, there's a position coach. Dave Merritt's position coach of the year. Not even close. You have 2 all pros in that room. They're amazing tacklers, like we said. you've had all the inconsistencies and guys be in and out the lineup, and there's been essentially no drop off. And look at the. But yeah, go ahead.
I was saying, how many teams don't complain about corner 2, 3, and 4? Most teams have a corner they trust, and then every team has that corner to where they're like, "Why is that dude getting snaps?
He sucks." James Bradbury.
Chiefs don't have any of that. Josh, like again, Jalen and Josh may give a play. That's just the nature of football. But like no one sits there when Josh and Jalen are having to play your third and fourth corners. Are they groaning? We're like, we got the best third and fourth corners in the league. We got the best maybe corner duo in the league that's underrated. No one talking about. Like,
facts.
It's
two guys that are both going to be on the All Pro ballot. Like, we haven't been able to say that in a very, very, very.
How many teams get to say that ever?
They didn't say just for one guy. We have Snead and Trent are both should be on the All Pro ballot. They both won't make it. Obviously, one will and one won't. And I'm cool either way.
Yeah, I think Snead will get on there. Trent won't.
I think Snead should. If anything, but if we're talking about guys who should be on All Pro ballots, both of those guys are in the conversation. I think Snead's been the top 5 corner. If we want to go top 10 corner, I think Trent's been in there. So to have both of those guys who nobody had those expectations outside of Chiefs Kingdom that those guys would be that high, because we had this conversation with some of my friends who were, and I'll send you some of the clips, Chris, you're going to laugh. The disrespect that Snead got this offseason was hilarious.
Yeah.
And now I'm revisiting all those takes from some of the people in this chat I'm in, and I'm sending them that screenshot of all the list of receivers he's went against and all the yardages they've had, their averages versus what he gave up. I'm like, remember you told me Snead was just a guy and he can't play outside and he's only a slot corner? And you tell me he get cooked if he ever went against an elite receiver for a whole game? Exhibit A. Yeah. You told me he couldn't cover Tyreek Hill or Jamar Chase, and he's seen all of them. Well, he probably won't see Jamar Chase this year because he's hurt. But Stephon Diggs, A.J. Brown, Tyreek Hill, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Keenan Allen, seen them all.
He's been
balling. Those speak for themselves. So that would be like a guy like I think Coach David Merritt. I know position coaches don't get their love, but Dave Merritt deserves his love. He deserves his flowers. And definitely Steve Spagnuolo be assistant coach of the year, DC of the year, and we're giving out those awards. Those guys have been amazing this year. They've carried this team, like you said, because the defense has obviously been the backbone of this football team. We haven't been able to say that in about since 2016, 2017, when the last time we could say that? The defense is the reason we're winning games. Yeah, we haven't been able to say that in a very long time. So.
Yeah, it started to fall off in 17, the year before Pat came.
Justin left and all that,
Yeah, 16 was good, though, man. 16.
Yeah, EB was out there. DJ.
Yeah, you had EB, DJ. That was DJ's last year, I think, Houston.
Yeah, before he popped his Achilles. Yep.
Yeah. That was
we haven't been able to say
was that the last year of Marcus, or had we just moved off of Marcus?
I think Marcus left in 16.
I can't remember if he was there.
Yeah, because he went to we traded him to the Rams.
The Rams. 16. Yeah, I can't remember, but like either way, it's nice to have a defense for the first time in a long time. That's we're at week 15 or going into week 16 now, and they have not slowed down at all. So great stuff to see. You had to give them a love because you can't ignore them too much. We almost did. So shout out to the defense. But CJ, as we get out of here, where can the good people find you, my man?
You guys can definitely find me on Twitter at CGZ81, CJEEZY81. I'm always down for conversation. I have a lot of betting content that's coming up soon. So be prepared for that if you guys want to make some money. I've been hitting a lot of greens. I'm not going to lie. I don't like to brag about stuff, but I've been making a lot of money. If you guys want to talk X's and O's, bowl season's coming up. So we can definitely make some props for those. I love talking college football all the days, especially it ties into our seasons. Obviously, guys, we like who we want on our teams and stuff like that. But I'm always down if you guys got fantasy talk. I won my fantasy league on the game winner by JSN last night for the Seahawks.
Man, Drew Lock.
I looked at my lineup. I was like, I had him on my team, and I won by like 7 points. So you get a catch and 6 points for the touchdown. I won off that play.
The guy who doesn't know who's starting on his fantasy roster is saying you need to take advice from him, but I digress on that.
I was just like, I forgot because I have like 3 leagues I'm in, so it's
and
like I got 2 big ball money leagues like to buy it for like $50.
Ain't no one care about your big ball money leagues. Congrats on the dub.
No, that one was a smaller league. That's why.
Congrats on the dub.
I was like, I did start him. I was like, yeah,
there you go.
I won my league. I'm like, thank you. And the dude he texted me. He was in the chat. He was like, bro, you just beat me. I'm like, how? I was down. He was like, you had JSN. I'm like, oh shoot, I did start him. I was like, hey.
MU is definitely, you know how Alabama's wide receiver U, Iowa's tight end U, Missouri is backup quarterback U.
Chase Daniel, Drew Lock, baby, let's go.
And Blaine Gabbert.
Blaine Gabbert, let's go.
So all the backup quarterbacks. But Yeah, that's
Oh, that's
CJ
funny.
Jones. I am Christopher Tippett. You can find me at 10penny88. I'm all over the place, sports related. You never know where I'm going to go, who I'm throwing shade at.
The
It's
Royals
normally,
are back, Chris. Watch your mouth.
hey,
We're
we got some
back.
good Royals content here on
Yeah.
sports. Dude, those videos are doing well. That's where a lot of the stuff's coming. People are hyped about the Royals, man.
A
So
lot of
make
good
sure you
players
go
coming in.
check those out if you want more Royals content. I know this is Chiefs and we want to talk about Chiefs all day, but if you want more Royals content or just to talk about the Royals and what they should do, hit me up. I could talk about it
That's your
all
man.
day. So all day. But that is going to do it for this week. As always, thank you for listening, and we will talk to you next time.
Go Chiefs.